Hi, this is Alex Helmbrecht, the Sports Information Director at Chadron State College, and I'm sitting here this morning with Chadron State men's basketball coach Brent Bargen. The Eagles had a successful weekend at home, playing against a tough Metro State team. Actually, the Roadrunners are ranked number one in the NABC Division II coaches poll, suffering a 63-51 setback, but the Eagles played pretty tough. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But then they rebounded nicely to earn a 72-61 victory over Regis. It was their second win of the season. And Coach, I know that it was a victory that was pretty due for you guys. You were ready for it.
Well, I thought the Metro State game was a good game for us. I thought we competed pretty well. We threw a couple of different things at them defensively, and outside of turnovers and a couple of extra offensive rebounds, I thought we played pretty well in that game and gave our kids a little bit of confidence. I thought we were well prepared. I thought our kids were prepared, and kind of disappointing there. Like I said, 24 turnovers is way too many. I know they pressed us the whole time, but if we don't have turnovers, we probably play better. And as far as the Regis game goes, I thought our kids played pretty well. Being with the number one team in the country, having the ball, we're down 4 with 4 minutes left. That gave us a lot of confidence, I think, going into the next night. And I thought we played well against Regis, pretty much a complete game for the most part. They cut the lead to 61-61 and tied it. And then we scored the last 11 of the game, which was nice to see our kids close the game.
Coach, with Metro, obviously a talented team, it seems to be ever since you've been here, the first time you play them, they usually kind of win and kind of cruise in doing so. And then the second time that you play, it's always a much closer game. And the nice thing is that game is usually at home, and it's always a really exciting game for the fans. Why is that? Is it because their zone is just difficult to practice for, or is it something else? Well,
last year was probably the first year that we played well against them the first game out, and it was because we had a pretty experienced group and they were all coming back. It's we don't press much at all, if at any, and it's just something that we don't see very often. They do a couple of things different defensively that we don't normally see, and it's hard for us to replicate. And it's hard for us understanding as a coaches. I think we have a pretty good feel for it, but for us to be able to convey that to the kids and be able to have that happen is a little bit different. We can't mimic it very well. The other thing is going into the first couple of both those Metro games, actually the first one in particular, was we were a little bit banged up, so we didn't even have 10 guys to practice against. So we couldn't replicate a press of any kind because we didn't have 10 guys. And in the past, what we've done is we've actually played like 6 against 5. So we played against more guys, our 5 offensive guys against 6 defensive guys, maybe even 7, just to emulate the chaos and confusion that they try to create. And I think once our kids have played against it and have a little bit more confidence and aren't in wow or in awe of anything, then we usually play a little bit better.
And then the Eagles, as we mentioned, rebounded really nicely against Regis, earning that 72-61 victory. As Coach mentioned, scored the last 11 points of the ball game. Zach Bargen, who finished with a game high 22 points, I believe, scored 8 of those 11. So he really came through down in the clutch. He hit a big 3 with about a minute and a half left, and then went to the charity stripe for the remainder of the game. Coach, Regis, one of those teams that you match up well against. Going into that game, you knew that, but it sure felt good to get that win, I'm sure.
Well, anytime you can win an RMAC game is good, especially when we've been struggling. But at the same time, last week was the first week. We still didn't practice with everybody. Justin had an upper respiratory infection, and we haven't been the same group of 10 or 12 kids since we started practice. Every week something's happened, whether it be a shoulder or an ankle or a knee or a injury, a sickness of some kind. And so, we're starting to kind of get guys healthy, and we're starting to kind of get a better feel for what everybody is doing and having a consistent lineup, which hasn't happened for us, like I said, since the season started. Basically, it's just been one of those years where everything that could happen has been happening as far as being nicked up. And I thought our kids came out and played a little bit more comfortable. I thought we took better care of the ball. We only had 11 turnovers, shot the ball much better. Our young guys are starting to catch on, so they're getting us a little bit more depth in there. And I just thought that our kids played well, and Regis had beat Black Hills the night before and had won 2 of their last 3 games, including 2 on the road. And so, they were kind of on a hot streak, playing really well, and it was a good win for us to be able to answer the bell when the bell was rung, as far as they cut the lead to tie it, and we score the last 11. We were able to finish a game, like I mentioned earlier. That's not something we've been able to do, and I was really proud of our kids for fighting, battling throughout the week, and then being able to close a game out.
Well, the Eagles have played 7 of their last 9 games at home, barring a road trip to New Mexico. So they're back on the road this week, and they're heading to the western slope of Colorado. They will play at Western State on Friday. That's a 7:30 p.m. tip. And then they'll play at Colorado Mesa on Saturday, also at 7:30. 2 teams that you are familiar with. Played Colorado Mesa here the last day of November, suffered a 77-62 setback. But a game that the Eagles really were in, especially in the first half. And then Western State, kind of a tough loss. The Eagles lost 69-66. Coach, looking at Western State, who you play first on Friday, they're 7-12 overall, but they were 7-5, and they've lost their last 7 games. So obviously a different team than the one that you faced in December.
Yeah, I think they've lost 7 in a row now, and in league play, and I think a good majority of those have been on the road. I think 5 of those 7 games have been on the road, and so they're always tough at home. They're a team that plays really well there. It's a difficult place to play with the altitude and everything that goes along with it. Coach has them playing awfully well, or did before they went on the road. They've got a little bit of a mix-up in some of their it looks like their roster has changed slightly with watching film and looking at box scores. So I'm not exactly sure what's happened there, but they've got a couple of guys that have been in and out of the lineup that we played against the first time. Play very aggressively. You got 4 guys in double figures. Got a guy that's extremely difficult in Boyd to defend, and then the interior guy of their post guy Joseph is Charles Joseph is a guy like nobody else in the league. He's just a huge individual and very tough matchup for us. Got a couple of guys on the wing that shoot the ball well, and I expect to get their guns will be blazing, so to speak. They'll be ready to playing at home, playing a team that hasn't had a lot of success, and they need to kind of get on a roll and hope to stay in the hunt for the RMAC tournament.
And then that'll be followed by a game at Colorado Mesa on Saturday, also at 7:30. The Mavericks are currently 14-5 overall, 11-4 in the RMAC. They had been playing pretty well. They had a 5-game winning streak, and then they lost to Metro State 64-52 at home, and then won 2 in a row over Regis and Colorado Mines. And then that was followed by kind of a different loss to Colorado Christian, a team that's really been on the rise, 83-65. So they're probably going to be hungry for a win as well.
Yeah, we haven't, Mesa's always a difficult place to play. Coach Heaps does a great job with them. They're very physical, don't hurt themselves, don't turn the ball over, shoot high percentages from the field. Very good defensively, kind of take the lane away from you. They got great size inside and a couple of really good shooters on the wings, and their point guard is very, very steady. They got 3 guys in double figures, and those are the 3 guys that are going to take majority of their shots, and that's kind of a 2 wing guys and a post guy. Some of those are difficult matchups for us, but we expect a great game. I know Mesa's always well prepared. They play tough. It's a tough place to play. You don't get many calls over there. They play very physical, and we're going to have to be ready to compete. I thought we played really well against them last year at their place and had a very good opportunity to win the game, and then happened to beat them here. A little disappointed in the first game that we played them here. I don't think that we played as well as we were capable of playing, especially at that time, but our lineup is a little bit different now, which is a good thing, and hopefully we'll be able to go there and compete.
All right, Coach. Well, as we mentioned, both of those games will tip off at 7:30 p.m. and be broadcast on Double Q Country. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks, Alex.